it doesn't mean that you're not meant to succeed.
You could be an extremely successful person. Sometimes we work 17, 18 hours a day.
That is a big passion of ours too.
Because if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you're just going to be robotic and you're never going to want to pursue and grow and dig deep and expand.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Community Chronicles. Today we are joined by Jenn and Mike from Ingrained Cabinetry. They are a high-end cabinetry contractor based in South and North Jersey. That's what I know from my perspective, but let's hear it from them.
Yes, we are a high-end cabinet shop. We go actually all over the country. So we've done work in Colorado, we've done work in Florida, we've done work in Texas, we've done work in North Carolina, South Carolina. So we're all over the country. The other things about our business is that we make everything in-house, which is very odd for a smaller cabinet shop to do. We make all our own doors, drawers, everything from A to Z. So we make sure that we are a good business. That's the best I can put it. Do you have anything to add to that, Jenn?
Yeah, I would just say, we like to categorize ourselves as a boutique shop.
Yes.
So we are very specialized in what we do. We're not what you would consider a general contractor. We only do cabinetry and furniture. And like Mike said, all high-end custom work. And we primarily work with interior designers in the state. So that makes our business a little bit unique as well.
And you guys said that you do business all over the country. I'm just really curious, as a based in South Jersey, how are you able to reach those clients?
Well, we reach them usually through referrals, or some of our clients in that situation have multiple homes around the country. So if we do work, let's say in a home in New Jersey, well, they might have a home in Colorado or Florida. So we make those connections that way. Or our designer works for someone who has multiple homes around the country.
And do you guys work with multiple designers or
Yeah, the biggest aspect of our business is design, which I would probably say it's 80% to 20%, 80% designers, 20% on our own. We have a good amount of designers that are excellent at their craft, and they become friends through the years, and it's a joint venture at that point, at a certain point where we both know our businesses, and they're actually enjoyable to work for.
And do you guys primarily do the designing work yourselves, or do you guys kind of follow what the designer and what the client says?
It depends.
It depends,
A certain style, you guys have a certain style or something.
No, it's
a lot of times what will happen is a designer, it's usually both of us working together. They'll give us their vision, and then what we'll do is usually work with the homeowner with them and go through the process of design together. So if, let's say we have a box and the designer says, well, I have the specific way I want this box to look, and we want those boxes all throughout the kitchen, then what I'll do is I'll design it or we'll design it so it fits into that kitchen. And a lot of our designers, they give us the freedom of telling them what's best for that.
And just to segue, take me back to the beginning. How did your business start? What were your motivations?
Okay. Those are good questions. Jenn came later on. I would say I started at a cabinet shop at age 14. One of my brother's friends needed a person to work with him on Saturdays. And so at 14 years old, I started with him. And then when I graduated high school, I worked for him full-time for another, 10 years. And then I hit a ceiling to where I couldn't make any more money. And I always had a desire to open my own business. So I always wanted to, it was just one of those things that I knew someday I would open my own business. So there I started, I opened my own business, and it was probably about 8 years into it that I met Jenn, or 9 years into it that I met Jenn. And then,
Well, my background was very different. I had a corporate background. I had no intentions in my early life to be a tradesperson or be involved in that. I grew up, my father was a tradesperson, so I was familiar with it. But when I met Mike, something about it intrigued me, and we kind of knew that our strengths could work together and build the business even more.
So more corporate skills, and then
Trade skills. Yeah, because tradespeople, it's a challenge when, especially for small businesses. I can't speak to huge construction firms, but for a small business, it's hard to cover every aspect of business. So you can be really good at sales and relationship building and the installing, but it's really hard to manage all of that at the same time by yourself. So when, my degree was in business administration and marketing. So I have that background. Mike had a solid foundation in the business side and selling, but together we brought those different pieces and that helped us grow that area and put a little bit more focus into things that he didn't have time to do because he was too busy building, you know what I mean? And the customer relationships and the customer service and just the business side of things. It's more hands make light work, right? And take some of the stress off. And we were able to kind of improve on some of the areas that maybe got left to the wayside while he was busy building. So
Way to say it. We, and in all honesty, Sean, the good thing about where I came from before I started my business is that I had actually, my first boss taught me a lot, not only about making the cabinets, but also the business end of it, which a lot of guys in trades don't really get a chance to spend that much time with their boss. My first boss and I was with him all the time. So I actually was able to learn those things, so it was actually it was a good thing for me to do, which I would recommend if anybody was starting in trades, that they understood the business side of it, because that is 2/3.
Like really like gain like a good relationship with your mentor, maybe find a mentor.
Yeah, find a mentor. And to tell you the truth, that is big. And sometimes bosses don't like to do that because they are so very afraid of business getting taken from them. So, which happens, especially in trades, people get a little, what's the word I'm looking for?
think of possessive,
Possessive, thank you.
you know.
Possessive about their business. So they get worried about it. Granted, my old boss was possessive in certain aspects of it, but he still taught me. And in some ways, I forced him to teach me because I would ask him questions all the time.
Yeah.
And
Engaging. It's about engaging and care. Like the investment, like Mike said, he really couldn't deny Mike to teach him the skills because he was invested and interested in asking questions. It's one thing to just show up for work and do your job, but if you really want to learn, you have to get involved and go the extra.
yeah,
And Mike did that, and it paid off.
yeah.
So while you were at like your first like trade career, would you say that like you gained like a very like hands-on view of business, or did you have to like really like push for that?
Yeah, I had to push first in some areas. In some areas, you actually watch and learn what's going on. So sometimes he was forced to take me on sales appointments because I would be working with him on an install and we wouldn't have enough time to actually get back home. So he would have to take me on a sales appointment. And those times you learn as well. He also taught me a lot about the financial aspects of the business. Like there's things about this business that a lot of people do that I would recommend never to do. One is get into debt. We try and stay out of debt as much as possible. Like certain areas, sometimes you do have to go into debt for a machine or something like that. But most of the time we both try to keep the business out of debt, because if you can freeze your overheads in a trades business, you will survive anything. It's the guys that are actually in so much debt that will fail when economy goes bad. And I've had my share of failures. In 2007, I had to go get a job because the business wasn't doing so good. Economy dictated that I had to go out of business. It's not something that you want to do, but sometimes you have to do that. And I went to work for another cabinet maker that was probably the highest end that you could possibly get. In that I met, celebrities and different people that I thought I would never get to meet. And it was a very good time for me because I actually went one step further in my trade. And sometimes there's reasons that you go for it, because then I could actually make my business higher end,
So what I'm seeing is that like the path like like your business growth really wasn't linear. Do you guys believe in the in like the mantra that like everything will work out, or do you guys or in your profession is it really important to value hard work and not attribute everything to something like luck?
The way I could put that question is, one is that we have faith, like we have faith in God. Yeah. And we're Christians. So we believe that God has a purpose and a plan for everything. So not so much luck. I would probably more relate it to a purpose and a plan.
Yeah.
And
ultimately things will
work out
and
Right.
be good. But in that process, it can be challenging.
Yeah, it can be challenging. Absolutely. We do believe in hard work. I mean, there are times, and I would recommend to anybody young going into business to understand that there are two different reasons why you go into business. One is to make your own time schedule, and the other is to make money. usually 9 out of 10 times, the guys who believe that they're going to make their own time schedule fail.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear somebody saying that, I'm like, well, you're not made for business.
So like when you say make your own like time schedule, you're saying like people that like will like only like work like a certain hours in the day, and they're like, okay, now that I don't have a boss, I can actually just like work like only like 20 hours a week and somehow be successful.
That's right. That's
That's
exactly right.
that's a
And there are a
perfect way
lot
to
of guys who do think that way. And
Actually, we knew somebody recently who, worked next to us in one of the places where we had our shop. And he used to see us in there. Sometimes we worked 17, 18 hours a day. So he'd leave and come back and we were still there. Sometimes jobs require that, right? And so he would say to us, and he was young, he was new to the business, he didn't own the business, but he was basically the owner in the sense that he ran it. And he would, I'm never working after 3 o'clock, 7 to 3 or 6 to 3. That's my time schedule. Well, fast forward 3, 4, 5 years, and he's doing the schedule that we were doing because business requires that sometimes. It doesn't necessarily have to be constant. It shouldn't be constant. That's not healthy.
Right.
But business requires, especially small business and owning your own business, you can guarantee it's going to be hard work. And you're going to have to work and do all kinds of things you never anticipate.
But it also kind of in a way not only requires hard work, it also requires passion.
Sure.
Yeah, passion in a way is different. There's a couple of things that can drive your passion. Supplying for your family is one. Giving, if you're a big giver, like we give to a lot of different things. Yeah, and we enjoy giving, and that can be a passion as well. Or just to see customers extremely happy with your work. That is a big passion of ours too. Actually, that's probably one of our biggest drivers.
Like it gives you like your business like a great purpose kind of in a way.
Yes. Yeah, and we enjoy that. We enjoy seeing our customers happy. Whenever if somebody doesn't tell us that they're happy, we actually
We have a hard time with that.
Yeah, we have a really hard time with that.
That's definitely something that we strive for. But I think the passion question can be, it can't always be driven by that. Because there are a lot of times where I do not feel passionate about what I'm doing. It's just we're getting things done, we're completing tasks, we're fulfilling contracts. Passion might not be a flame, but it needs to be part of it at the high level. Because if you don't have passion for what you're doing, you're just going to be robotic and you're never going to want to pursue and grow and dig deep and expand. So it's got to be part of it, but it can't be all of it,
And you said something about growth, like in terms of passion. Are you guys looking to like expand the business or
This is a good question between both of us because I think a business will always feel if they don't have a want to grow. So the want to grow is there. It will always be there. How we grow is the important part. Like we're not looking to just take on any job because we're high end, so we have to be in a certain clientele. And so that's where the relationships with designers and relationships with our customers really have to come into effect. And we also have to say no. Like growing sometimes has to be say no, because if the job is not good for us, we have to say this job is not good for us. We can't take it. It's not really smart on our end to take this job. And
that
that's
can
part
be
of growing.
that's the challenge though too in small business ownership because it a lot of times can be feast or famine with the amount of work that's coming through, and we have to be really careful that we're not just obviously if we're not taking jobs, we're not making money, and we're invested 100%. We don't have anything else but the work that we do and the money that we bring in, right? So when the economy gets shaky or contracts aren't coming through, sometimes it's like a big mistake to just take any job as it comes up because that could be bad for us. Not taking the right kinds of jobs is super important for any kind of business, any kind of small trade business, because you can kind of get caught in the weeds, so to speak, and you're doing things that maybe you are not as good at or are just more complicated or lengthy, and that can affect it.
Right. And again, Sean,
can drag you down.
that leads us back to what I was saying previously, is that freezing your overheads as a business owner is extremely important, because what happens is it can become foolproof that, all right, my expenses are not going to be going up while economy is going up. So let's say 10 years down the road, best example is your rent. But best thing that we did now is we bought the building that we're in. So our mortgage is here. So as economy goes up and it determines that we can make more money for a job, my overhead is still here. So that means I'll be making more money in the long run off of that investment. And that's what I did. I tell any businessman who's especially in trades, you've got to freeze your overheads. Those things that go up that you had no choice, that you have to do your supplies, your cars, your gasoline, all that goes up.
And then there's also like the type of growth where people finance with debt. And that obviously in a bad economy where rates go up can be really really detrimental.
Absolutely. And that's something that we try and stay away from, and it has served us well as we've moved along. Sometimes people will be like, oh, you're crazy because you can work with other people's money. And I understand that. And I understand that principle, and it's worked well for certain people. But I have noticed in trades that is not a good
It can be
value.
risky.
It can be risky.
I mean, having capital, working capital, sometimes requires taking on debt, small business loans, things like that, because that can be helpful to help you grow. We didn't need the first time, Mike went into business, or even when, we went into it kind of the second time, or just the revamp of it. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a lot of working capital, but, we did take advantage of, small business loans and things like that when necessary in order to just sometimes keep the lights on or to take that next step and grow, so there's a benefit to have a certain amount of debt. But there are a lot of contractors that we see that every year, their new fleet, new trucks, new machines, that's when you start getting under, you're going below your profits, and you're never catching up, and you're never getting out of that debt. That is a very unhealthy way to do business. And we try to make sure that we don't make those mistakes.
And again, there's two thought process to that. And I understand the other thought process. It's just that I am aware that is one stress that I do not want in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard enough to actually own a business and keep your customers satisfied. To have the money stresses that come along with the debt process also is not something that I'm willing to do anymore. That's, that's something that we
So like that stress between like satisfying the customer and then managing your finances.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes the ability to satisfy the customer is compromised by just, I need to get the job done because I've got to pay the bills. I've got to keep staying out of that debt. I've got to, so when you can take a step back and focus and, like we said, take the right jobs and make the right investments, your success rate, and from our opinion, and somebody might disagree, but from our perspective, it tends to be a lot higher when you make better decisions.
And then finally, in closing, do you guys have any advice for anyone that's looking to pursue a trades profession or entrepreneurship in that realm?
Yeah, I would say there's a couple of different ones. One is never let your failure dictate your successes. Like, you're going to have failures in business. It's inevitable. There are going to be times when failures do arise, but that doesn't mean that you were bad at what you do. It doesn't mean that you're not meant to succeed. It just means that you're getting a stall. And sometimes those stalls are the best things that can happen to you because those are your learning processes. And as you're going through that, you realize, okay, I can't do that again, so I'm going to do it a different way. And that makes you more, it helps you to make more money. The second thing is never just stop at successes, like, because that can stagnate growth too. Sometimes success can stop you from growing. I know people that have been in business that sort of rest on one success where they could have flourished more, but yet they're going to stop here because, I succeeded, I'm good. And that's not a good way to be either, because then it stagnates your business and you'd be sort of stuck there. And you'll never, you almost get scared to move again. So you can't rest on your successes. And the third thing is just, if you're going to do it, understand that there are sacrifices that you're going to make. In a business, you are going to sacrifice. So sometimes, especially when you're younger, when I started, I was still fairly young, as 28 in my own business. You see people going out together and having a good time together, but you're stuck at work. Like, oh no, I got to work, and you have no choice. Those are the decisions that you made, and people are trusting you to get their product out, especially in kitchens, because we do a lot of kitchens. They deserve you to do right by them because they trusted you for your product. And that's something that we hold at the highest level.
Like, establishing that relationship and really understanding your customers' needs is really important.
Oh,
Yeah, it's probably the most important because we are mostly word of mouth. And our designers trust us because if we do a bad job, we make them look bad. So we're not only...
And vice versa.
And vice
If we do
versa.
an excellent job, they excel. So
Yeah. We want to make them look good. So if we're dealing with a designer, our first and foremost thing is that we make them look good. That's first and
that's our
foremost.
major
Main goal. But
responsibility.
if we're not going through design and we're in a home, our first and foremost thing is to make sure that customer's happy.
Yeah.
And sometimes we've seen so many trades like, I can't make it there tomorrow. Can't make it there tomorrow. Can't make it there tomorrow. There's a point where you say, all right, why did you take the job if you can't make it there tomorrow?
So it's like a lot of sacrifices in that.
Yeah, a lot of
commitment.
sacrifices in that.
The other thing that I would add to the maybe advice for younger people in the time that I joined the business. Now, like I said, I went to college, I was working corporate, and then switched and went into this trade world. There's been a stigma for a long time about trades and college versus trades and that whole world. And we've talked to a lot of young people and discussed this at length, and even just both of our perspectives on it. There can be a great combination of those things, that having a college education and pursuing a trade can really go hand in hand and turn into a fantastic business venture. A young person doesn't have to be afraid and that stigma like, oh, you're going to go be a contractor or whatever and not go to college, and it's shunned or looked down upon.
I mean, obviously, like considering like how much more expensive college tuition is becoming, there's a huge upside now, even just in general, to a trades profession.
Right. And you can, I mean, maybe it's not, Mike took college courses, but didn't go for a full degree. And it was invaluable to him just to have that. But
not having that degree, but having that education.
you can have higher education. You can go for a full degree in finance or marketing or just general business or management, and it can give you some skills that can help you, or a 2-year degree or some kind of certificate program. But it's not a requirement. It's definitely part of our goal when we talk to young people, is just to kind of break through that stigma and say you could be an extremely successful person and be in a trades business.
And I would add something more to that. Basically, in what you're saying, a lot of times the college education to start a business, you could actually take the money that you were going to go to college by doing a full degree and start a really nice business for yourself because of how expensive it is. So that's important too, because if you're not going to go for a full degree, take a couple courses. I recommend that all the time. Like, take a couple courses. But since you're going to be owning your own business, you don't need this education per se to get that job.
Just for the sake of it.
For the sake of
just for the sake of
degree.
having a degree.
So in the long run, it'll help you because now you don't have this school tuition debt and you're trying to start a business. Because the two are very hard to do together.
Like, it kind of like, in a way, like once you like start a profession, like you can get a really good career out of college, but you're kind of stuck there because of that, overhead debt that you've left.
Sure.
And then you can't, even if you wanted to start a business, because of how much debt you have, it would be really hard to get a small business.
It can be a challenge.
It can be a challenge.
Yeah.
When in all honesty, even so many parents have saved up for their kids to go to college. If they make the decision not to go to college, I would recommend that they take that money and put it into a business for that you would want to go into. So there's so many different ways. We've seen so many parents, because we have hired so many young
We tend to hire
younger guys. And so many parents are sort of against us when we say, no, this person is extremely good with their hands. You might want to reconsider them going to college and keep the money for them to start their own business later on. Which is not.
It's hard to break through that stigma. It has changed more recently, I think, because the job market hasn't always trended towards getting a job right out of school. There was a time where you were guaranteed a job if you were at college. But it's changed. So
it's like, it's changed so much. Like now, now you have like college sophomores even doing recruiting for big companies now and not waiting until they're out of college.
Right. Yeah, it's a totally different marketplace. And like you said, business and especially trades, there's a lot of personal investment, monetary investment that's required to do it right, so you can certainly save that money or put it towards the things you need to get started on the right foot, and maybe even be one step ahead, because you have everything that you need. You're not working and then buying it as you go. You can make a little bit of an investment. So we definitely... but just that whole breaking through those stigmas, and not being afraid.
Some trades are making exceptional money. Yeah, like
Not just carpentry
or cabinetry, but plumbers are making incredible money right now. And they're like, wow,
plumbers,
that's good money.
electricians,
Yeah.
all trade business.
Yeah.
And there's, we talked a minute about AI and the changes that are happening. Really, there's certain trades where you're always going to need a human person to do those things. And so as the trend has been that the younger people are not going towards the trades, well, there's a huge gap
Yeah.
of resources out there. So your ability to ask more and earn more out the gate is probably much higher than some of the more saturated career choices that are out there right now. So definitely, I would say if someone has an interest in exploring that, to heartily explore it and not give up on the idea of getting your hands dirty and working
Yeah.
towards building a small business.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to talk to you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Good conversation, Sean. That's good.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you guys for another Community Chronicles episode. Peace out.